So over the years, various militaries have used kind of propaganda films to really try to recruit soldiers for the war efforts. Now, 1917 is the antithesis of one of those type of films. In fact, if you watch 1917 and you want to join a military to go fight, I think there's something wrong with you, honestly. You might be too far gone, or you need to find yourself a better situation. Greetings everyone, my name is Dr. Jason Freeman. I'd like to welcome y'all to my channel. In this video, I review the film 1917 in honor of Remembrance Day, which is November 11th. I'm gonna talk about what I liked about the film. I'm gonna talk about what I didn't like about the film. Then I'm gonna tell you what I think you should see the film or just skip it. Now, at any point, feel free to click the notification bell or subscribe to my channel to get more content. So without further ado, let's begin. So I'm doing this video in between classes here at Towson, and so unfortunately, I have issues with like glare, so that. And so if you notice me kind of staying in one spot, it's because I'm trying to black out the sun behind me. Yeah, I'm kind of on a tight schedule. This is advising time during the year, so I have a limited time to actually get my videos done, and so unless I want to be here at night, which I've done a couple of them at night, away from my family, I'm actually decided I'm gonna do it right now and get it done. I'm really excited about this video though, because you'll see. Now, 1917 is a film that takes place during World War I, also known as the Great War, the war to end all wars, and it focuses in on British soldiers, in particular these two British soldiers, and you follow their journey. Now, throughout this film, there's a lot of twists and turns, there's ups and downs, very emotional moments, very dark, sad moments. But the key thing is you're on this journey. And the film, the camera really follows that journey. And so that's one of the big things, big unique things about this film, is that you go along with this person and what you see is or with these people, and what you see is what they show you basically, or what you see what they're seeing essentially. It's not POV though. It's more so, if you have the two guys walking, the camera focuses on them, and so you don't see what's on the horizon, you don't see what's behind them. And so every so often something happens off camera that they react to, and you don't see it until really they are kind of heading towards that, and you see it essentially from their perspective, even though it's not POV. And so what I like about the film, well, one of the main things I liked about the film were the characters. So one of my big critiques with some of the films I've watched before, in particular Alex Wheatle, is that you're on this journey with this character, but if you don't care for the character, if you don't like the character, it makes it become like a trifle, and it's just uncomfortable to kind of keep going with the film if you don't really like the person. Well, this film, I like the main characters. There's two main characters that you follow. One second. So Lance Corporal Blake and Lance Corporal Schofield. So two enlisted men, and you follow them along the way, and you kind of see their journey throughout this, not the war, but just throughout this one mission that they're sent on. Now, one thing I liked from the very beginning is that there was this instant chemistry between the men, but also instant tension in the same kind of situation. So that obviously they knew each other. Obviously they're friends on some level. But then in regards to the mission, which I'm not going to spoil anything, this is a non-spoiler review, and I think I'm going to put that in the title. To not spoil anything, there's an instant tension that develops based on the nature of the mission, which I'm not going to say anything more about the nature of the mission in that regard. And so you see that in the men. So one of the things I liked about some of the films I reviewed previously from Steve McQueen is that he's really good at using the face and the expressions and the body language of the characters to convey what's going on and the tension and things like that. And this film does a good job with that as well. Though I still say McQueen does a much better job at it. You do see instantly when they first get their mission, one of the characters kind of has trepidation, and the other one is kind of like, we're going. So instant tension, which I think really helped this film get going from the beginning. The other thing I really liked about this film was the attention to detail. No shot was wasted. So from the very beginning of the film, when you first see one of the men, I know which one it is, but I don't want to. Again, I'm not trying to give too much. But you see one of the men, and kind of uh, all the way through the film, each shot, each scene has a purpose, and there are a lot of callbacks. And what I mean by callbacks is this thing happens, and then later on it makes a difference. It does make a difference as to what happens. And so it's one of those things. Every shot, everything that you see on screen has a purpose, has a meaning. There's actually one I will mention. It's not really a spoiler. It kind of exemplifies what I'm talking about. The two men are in this kind of German bunker, and they're walking through, and one of them looks down and sees this picture of a little girl. And so instantly you know, oh, this is probably the daughter of one of these soldiers that abandoned the bunker. And what it does a lot of things. It humanizes the Germans. So oftentimes in these movies, the Germans, when I'm talking about World War One, World War II movies from the Western side, which is mainly what I've seen, oftentimes the Germans are these monsters, faceless creatures that basically they're there to die, and they're there to cause tension. They're almost like the orcs in Lord of the Rings. And so to me, I like the fact that they did humanize the Germans in this case, because with any war, whether it be the Civil War, whether it be World War One, World War II, any war, there's humans on both sides of the war who are suffering, who are dying, whose families miss them. Regardless of what we think about the cause of the war, there's still people. And that's one thing I did like about this film. That, again, some other things I reviewed doesn't really show the humanity of the other side, which I think this film did a decent job at, just at least in that part. And there's very points throughout the film as well. And to say this film is beautifully shot is an understatement. This is probably one of the most amazing shot movies I've ever seen. One of my big regrets is I was aware of this movie when it came out. And I'm a war film buff. It was just timing, with my teaching schedule and things like that. And the fact that my wife isn't a big war film buff, it was one of those situations where I could see like certain films on my own. But within the situation, I didn't actually go see this film in the theaters, which I do regret. I can imagine that if I saw this film in IMAX, which is I think where it should be seen, though, again, at this point, I don't know if it'll ever be back in IMAX. But if you see this film, the shots are just amazing. And they do a lot of these wide shots where oftentimes in a wide shot is you want to look at the person here and it's just kind of scenery. The wide shots are so dynamic. There is just these different things, like these big wide shots of like dog fights and battles and stuff. And it's just amazing. Like, you're just like, oh my God. And so one of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to watch this film multiple times over the next years on Remembrance Day. And so I'm going to be looking for stuff in different points as to kind of what I'm missing. Because I know I'm missing something. The thing is, there's so much stuff going in some of these scenes. You have to miss something. And it's just amazing. These are some amazingly shot, these big wide shots that are dynamic, showing battles, showing dogfights. It's just a master to behold, a masterpiece to behold. And just the last thing in regards to what I liked about the film is that run. Unfortunately, the run is in the trailer. So when I say that run, if you've seen the trailer, you know what I'm talking about. But when it happens in the film, because of everything that happened before it, it really had a huge impact, at least on me. I'm sure a lot of people watched it that had the same impact. That run was amazing. And because it's not even just the run, it's what's happening during the run. And again, I don't want to say too much, but you can see it in the trailer, what's going on behind the guy, I think Lance Corporal Schofield, as he's running. It's amazing. It's crazy. And so I love that scene. And again, it's more so, it's not even just what was happening, it's also the run up and what leads to that scene happening that's crucial, and what it really signifies. That's an amazing scene. So that's one of the things I really loved about this film. Now, what didn't I like about the film? Well, really, there's only one thing. There's only one thing that I had issues with the film, and that is the length. So the film was about 2 hours, at least from just the runtime from the beginning. I think it's about 2 hours. And so I feel like if they had made the movie hour and a half, even a little shorter than that, it would have gotten from the the different action pieces a lot quicker. And I don't know if that would be a better film, but I would have, I could definitely see a much shorter version of this film. There's a lot of just filler, especially on this journey, and so you can cut out a bunch of scenes and get it down again at least hour and a half, maybe a little shorter than that. And it's to me, it's either the same movie or a better, tighter movie. And actually, I would probably say it's a little bit tighter if you cut down some of the superfluous stuff in between. Actually, there are two things. I'm saying there's two things that I critique. The other thing is that there's one scene that has a bit of a surreal feel to it, and you'll know what it is when you're watching it. And so it's kind of a surreal feel. And for a moment, I was confused as to, is this happening in the reality of the film, or is it happening in the person's mind? And it's just it kind of, it's not, I can say come out of nowhere, but it happens, and then it's beautifully shot, but then it's like, this is kind of weird. Like, is this what they're thinking, or is this what they're seeing? And even at the end of the movie, even though I think that, I think the end of the movie is in reality, there's always that little piece in the back of my head is that maybe all this was all in the person's mind, which I think works for something like, say, Joker. You've seen the film Joker, has that same kind of thing where there are aspects of the film where it's like, oh, this is all in his head. This isn't really happening. Well, it's film, but this is all based inside this character's mind. And I don't think it works for this film because we start out in reality, and then later on, surreal thing happens, and then it's like, so are we still on this journey, or is something, did something change, or is this inside this person's mind at this point? And so again, I hope they weren't trying to do that purposeful. I hope that's just an accidental thing, that maybe it's just how, because it's such a surreal kind of feeling, that is just that was really just part of the story. But it's one of those things that it kind of took me out a little bit. And even at the end of the film, it's like, this could all have been in his head from this point on. But it's one of those things. It doesn't destroy the film for me, but it's just one of those things, that a little critique, that I kind of wish it had happened differently, because then it would have been a little bit more, okay, so this is all part of the same journey in this film. So, should you see the film or just skip it? Well, not only is this a see it, this is also a must-see film. Specifically, it's a must-see film on Remembrance Day, which is November 11th each year. Now, I did a whole video on Remembrance Day, so I'm not going to go into detail as to what it is, and you should be seeing a card on your screen right now for that video. I'm also going to leave a link in the description to kind of click on if you want to see that video. But basically, Remembrance Day happens every year, and so this film, I think, is a good film to really contextualize what happened during World War One. And some of the suffering that people dealt with during that war. Now, one of the things about this film is that you see people, not just white Brits, but also Brits of Asian descent, Brits of Black descent in the film. And so we see that this is a war that affected a lot of different people, different places, different walks of life. And so it's one of those things I think is an important film to really help people remember what happened with this particular war. And so, yeah, this is definitely a must-see. And I'm a war buff. For many years, my favorite film was a film called The Longest Day, starring John Wayne, which of course is, John Wayne being very problematic, which I'm not going to go into right now. But the film itself is amazing. And so for many years, that was my favorite film overall. It's a World War II film. But then you also have Saving Private Ryan, was also a World War II film. And so both these films are really good. There's one scene in particular in Saving Private Ryan that has stuck with me. I've seen it. I saw it, whenever the movie first came out years ago. It still sticks with me today. And there is a scene in this movie that has a similar impact. And I don't want to give anything away, but it's one of those films. I'll say it, it's a film that goes. It's a scene that goes silent. That scene still. Sorry. That scene has stuck with me since I watched the film just a couple days ago, but still, it's very impactful. And again, Private Ryan has a very similar scene in that regard. And so I would definitely put this in one of my top films of all time when it comes to war movies. Longest Day still has a particular impact with me in that the breadth of the story. But also, and in Private Ryan with some of the scenes that were very impactful. But this film is an interesting mix of both, even though this is a much smaller film than The Longest Day. And it's very, independent small story, but there are definitely things that happen in this film that really impacts you. And has an impact on kind of how you see things, how you see war. And so this definitely is one of my top war films of all time. I definitely want to see this film that premiered not that long ago on Netflix, All Quiet on the Western Front. I'm going to watch that one as well. And my guess is there's a lot of similarities because of the time frame in which both films were made. But definitely, as of right now, this is one of my top war films of all time in particular. Now, if you found this review helpful, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, please share this video with anyone you think might be interested in the film or might find my review useful. Now, I'm going to do something I haven't done in a while is I'm going to ask you all to leave comments. In particular, I want suggestions for videos, for films to review going forward. Now, my next review will be Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I'll be reviewing that. I'll be watching the film this Friday and try to have the review up sometime on Saturday. If not, it'll be sometime this weekend, this upcoming weekend. Today's the 7th, by the way, where I'm filming this. So again, if you have suggestions for Black British films or films with Black British leads, or just films about the African diaspora as a whole, please leave those suggestions in the comment section below. Thank you all for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day.